The time has arrived. Horse racing does not get more exciting than this. Twin Spires, Churchill Downs, the $6 million Breeders' Cup Classic. Which one of these horses will go down in history as a classic champion? We have a lukewarm favorite having an incredible season, 5 years old, coming off a major regression. We have very talented 4-year-old who is also coming off a long layoff. We have 3-year-olds with questions. We have a 3-year-old champion coming across the pond from Europe, the champion 3-year-old. This race has everything, but most importantly, it has a chance. We have a chance to make a lot of money. The win payout will be big. The exactor will be payout huge. The triactor, the superfecta. If there is one race in the Breeders' Cup that has a big score written all over it, it is the 1.25 mile Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's break down this field. I am so excited about this race, and I can only pray when it gets there at 5:44 Eastern time on Saturday, that my pick 4 is live. I can only pray to the horse gods. This field has it all. Let's break down the horses, starting with the number 1 horse, Thunder Snow, out of Ireland, going off at 12-1. Jockey Christoph Sumilian and trainer Saeed bin Suor, a high buyer of 103. This guy has had such an interesting season. He has won the Dubai World Cup. He came over in the Jockey Club and in the Gold Cup Jockey Club and lost by a neck to Discreet Lover, but showed a lot. Remember, Thunder Snow came over in the Kentucky Derby in 2017 and failed to fire, but showed in that Dubai World Cup where he won by 5 3/4 lengths that he is the real deal, and he destroyed rivals that day. 5 3/4 lengths over, among others, the number 7 horse in this race, West Coast, who will be going off, let's see, as a 5-1 early line favorite. After winning the Dubai World Cup and making a statement to the horse racing world that Thunder Snow is for real, he came back with a dull Grade 1 turf race in England. Thunder Snow can run on dirt, can run on turf. Then he shipped to Belmont for the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup, September 29th. He bided his time in third. He was behind the dueling pace centers, and then he pounced. He took off as if he was going to go on to victory, but he couldn't fend off upset winner Discreet Lover. So that shows a bunch of things about Thunder Snow. One, there's no doubt he's a live 12-1 long shot. There's no reason why you shouldn't back this horse for a big score. I will not be, but I can completely understand if you believe Thunder Snow has what it takes to be a Breeders' Cup Classic champion. All told, destroying rivals in Dubai. Also, he's had great turf success, even though the August 22nd didn't show it. Then going over to Belmont for a prep race for this race and looking so strong, it shows he fits. It shows he's sharp. It shows that he handles U.S. racing, which would have been a question mark because of that Kentucky Derby debacle in 2017. It shows that if he gets a dream setup, he should be able to take care of business. But he got a dream setup in the Belmont Jockey Club, and he couldn't take care of business there. Because he couldn't do it there, I will not be backing Thunder Snow in this race. Let's move on to the top-ranked 3-year-old in Europe, the number 2 Roaring Lion at 20-1. Jockey Ocean Murphy, trainer John Gosden. He's gone 5-0-2, 5 wins, 0 seconds, 2/3 over 8 races in Great Britain, and picked up a cool $3.5 million for his troubles. Trainer John Gosden likes the distance of this. So listen to this. So this is straight out of John Gosden. He likes the distance. He's fine with shipping him over here. He's not concerned about the level of competition, but he has one major concern, and that is kickback. Kickback. The amount of dirt that Roaring Lion is going to get hit with, because Roaring Lion doesn't have a ton of speed. He doesn't even have much speed. Roaring Lion is a horse that gets rolling and keeps coming at you. But he's going to get dirt, and he's in the second spot. This is a horse that's only been on turf. He's going to get dirt in the face. How is he going to handle it? He may not handle it very well. This is a turf horse going to dirt, notoriously a very difficult situation. But he's by Kitten Joy, an internationally renowned superstar. But a renowned turf stallion. How is he going to handle dirt? I don't expect he'll handle dirt very well. I think he's going to feel that dirt coming in his face and think, I've never felt this before. What the hell is this? I think it's going to bother him, and I will not be on Roaring Lion in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Now we move on to an extremely exciting horse. We have two horses in this race that have won grade ones on turf and on dirt. And here is the number 3, Catholic Boy. Catholic Boy was my choice leading up. Now, our thoroughbred handicappers, we think about the Classic all year long. Is this going to be my pick for the Classic? Is this going to be? What Catholic Boy did in the Travers, now it wasn't a very fast Travers, it wasn't an exceptional race, but what he did impressed me so much going from turf to dirt that I thought maybe Catholic Boy was going to be my choice. Now I'm going to use Catholic Boy, but in the end, he is not my choice to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. But what a horse, so versatile. A logical contender here. His win at the Travers was very nice. He pressed Mendelssohn, who's in this race, at the top of the lane. He blew past him, and went on to clear for a 4-length win. Obviously, he has no trouble with the trip, which means the distance. He has no trouble with the footing. And if anything, Catholic Boy is going to get better and better and better. This is a 3-year-old who just seems to be getting stronger and stronger. He's got tactical speed. But his turf wins at Belmont in June 2nd and July 7th saw him pass and re-rally for the win, which is a huge sign. It shows that he's got grit. Any horse that shows that kind of heart, we talked about horses in this Breeders' Cup in the past videos who, when they were tested, when a horse came alongside of them, that they wouldn't fire. And Catholic Boy has had horses pass him, and Catholic Boy has dug deep and run past. Still, these are the toughest horses on the planet, and most of them are older than him, but this is a live 3-year-old in this race with a high buyer of 104. I'm in love with Catholic Boy, but Catholic Boy is not my first choice to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's move on to the 4, Gunnevera at 20-1. Jockey Irad Ortiz Jr., trainer Antonio Sano, who is an underrated trainer. High buyer of 109. An okay 5th in this last year, though he never was a factor. It's amazing. He comes 5th in this last year, and that was his career high, 109. He went over to Dubai, and he disappointed. Let's go over it. He was in the Dubai World Cup that Thunder Snow won. West Coast was 2nd. Mub Tahij, who's not in this race, came 3rd. And he disappointed. He came 8th by 12 lengths. He had a freshening. Then he went to a Gulfstream Park optional claimer. He went off at 1-10. He destroyed the field. Then he was a decent 2nd in the Grade 1 Woodward at Saratoga, September 1st. He was 2 lengths back behind the number 10 Yoshida, who's in this race. Yoshida, just like Catholic Boy, is a horse that's won on turf and on dirt. But his lack of any early speed just puts him behind the 8 ball tactically. And at this level, it means giving some really strong horses a head start. He does his best work in the lane, but he's got just 1 second in 5 starts at the 1 1/4 mile trip. That may be a function of being at the highest level of racing and just going up against the toughest competition. He's pace dependent, trip dependent. He needs everything to work out his way. He needs an incredibly fast pace that falls apart. Is he a Grade 1 caliber horse? I am not sure. I will not be backing Gunnevera. You guys may remember Gunnevera from the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness in 2017. He came 7th in the Kentucky Derby with Castellano in the reins. Then he came 5th by 5.5 lengths in the Preakness with Mike Smith in the reins. That was a race won by Cloud Computing, and of course, Always Dreaming won the 2017 Kentucky Derby. Gunnevera won't be on any of my tickets. Let's move on to who will be the biggest long shot in this race, the 5, Lone Sailor at 30-1. Jockey James Graham, trainer Thomas Amos. A high buyer of 95. This horse has shown a lot of guts. You know, he rallied from well back to win the Grade 3 Oklahoma Derby at Remington Park on September 30th. That was a nice step forward after being a well-beaten 2nd in the Grade 3 Super Derby September 2nd at Louisiana Downs. He looked good when 5th in the Grade 1 Preakness. You know, he ended up just 2 lengths behind Justify. Justify wasn't being pushed there at the end, and the horses caught up to him. And it was very questionable whether Justify was actually having problems with the distance or he just wasn't being pushed at the end. It turned out he was just kind of lollygagging, if that's the right word. He knew he was going to get to the wire and he was not pushing it. Now, Lone Sailor does his best running in the lane, but he's finished off the board in his 2 starts at this type of trip. He's yet to hit a triple-digit buyer. I'm not going to be on Lone Sailor. Now we get to the horse that I will be betting to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, McKinzie, at 6-1. Jockey Mike Smith, trainer Bob Baffert. A high buyer of 107. McKinzie is a very interesting horse. Only 5 races under his belt for this 3-year-old. 5 career races. He's won 4 of them. He's come second once. Baffert thought this was the guy that was his best Kentucky Derby hope, but he had a setback in the spring and he missed the whole Triple Crown. But Baffert thought this was the horse better than Justified. Luckily, Baffert had another horse in his barn named Justified. Off the long layoff, it was a very long layoff. Let's go over exactly how long it was. In the 10th of March, 2018, he ran in the San Felipe. He beat Bolt de Oro by a head. He was disqualified. There was bumping. And that was his last race until the 22nd of September when he came back in the Pennsylvania Derby. He came back September 22nd at Parks in the Pennsylvania Derby. It was a nice showing. It was a race he needed. He needed that race under his belt. He picked up 107 buyer. That's his career high. He beat Axelrod by a length and 3/4. He was in control of the race the whole entire time. He'd never run that long in his career, and to my eyes, he passed that test with flying colors. Baffert asked a lot of this guy with just one race for this Baffert is asking a lot of this guy to come in here and to go up against the best horses in the world after a long layoff with just one race under his belt. But he can do that, and Baffert can do that. Baffert has won this race 3 times, all with 3-year-olds. 3-year-olds have won this race 12 out of 34 running. So let's not be too scared that we're backing a 3-year-old here. This is the main reason, too. Even though we don't want to take one horse racing fact and loom it that much larger than all the other important facts, this is an enormous reason why I'm backing McKinzie. It's because Mike Smith, the Hall of Fame jockey, has done the homework for us. He has decided to ride McKinzie over stablemate West Coast. West Coast, who's going off at 5-1 on the morning line. West Coast, who has looked so good this season, won the Travers by 3 1/4 lengths, won the Pennsylvania Derby by, that was last year, of course, by 7 1/4 lengths, went into the Breeders' Cup Classic, looked very good, came 3rd by a 1/2 length, went into the Pegasus, lost to Gunrunner by 2.5 lengths. When he lost to Gunrunner by 2.5 lengths, we thought, wow, West Coast next year, being this year, will be the best, fastest horse on the planet. Mike Smith has decided to ride McKinzie. Bob Baffert and Mike Smith have come together to be the most dominant duo in horse racing, jockey-trainer combination, and Mike Smith has done the homework for us. I will be on McKinzie to win the Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's keep rolling through the horses and go with his stablemate, the 7 West Coast, the 5-1. Jockey Johnny Velasquez, trainer Bob Baffert, a high buyer of 117. Last year's champion 3-year-old ran 3rd in this last year. He finished ahead of the previously all-world Arrogate. He couldn't go with Gunrunner that day, and he couldn't go with Gunrunner again at the Pegasus Classic. Then he chased Thunder Snow in the Grade 1 Dubai World Cup. Wasn't seen for 6 months before a nice second in the Grade 1 Awesome Again at Santa Anita, September 29th. But was it a nice Awesome Again? There's been a lot of breakdowns of this race, and now the longer you look at it, the times were just too slow. It doesn't matter if you're looking at it from a buyer standpoint, a time form speed rating standpoint. It was just a slow race. Sure, we know that West Coast and Accelerate can fire, but they just came off a very slow race. Do you want to back a horse in the Breeders' Cup Classic that's coming off a very slow race? No. He has tactical speed. If he brings his A game, which was a 117 buyer, a very, very fast buyer, and that was in the Pegasus when he lost to Gunrunner by 2.5 lengths. The fact that Smith opted to ride his stablemate McKinzie says it all to me. I've got to put in my bets as soon as this race is over, and I think I might just leave West Coast completely out of it. I'm very close to doing that, and that may be my final decision. Let's go to the 8, Pavel at 20-1. Jockey Mario Gutierrez, trainer Doug O'Neill, a high buyer of 104. An ugly 10th in this race last year at Del Mar. Lone try over this track was a very nice Grade 1 Foster in June 16th. That's a good sign. Went back to SoCal to be second in the Grade 1 Pacific Classic. He was no threat that day to accelerate. Accelerate won by 12.5 lengths, who he must deal with again here. First off, Pavel, I do think is somewhat of a live long shot because you need to know, or you want to know when you're backing a horse in a big race that he's comfortable with the course. And you know he is. You know he likes this place. Also, his connection skipped the prep for this, so they wanted Pavel to come in fresh. Still, he's got 1 second, 1/3 from 5 tries at this distance. I will not be using Pavel. Now we get to the number 9, Mendelssohn, an extremely interesting horse. He costs $3 million. He's a half-brother to multiple champion Beholder, one of my favorite horses in the history of the sport. High buyer of 101, jockey Ryan Moore, trainer Aidan O'Brien. Mendelssohn came over for the Kentucky Derby. He was highly thought of. He didn't like the slop. He got bounced around. He was never a factor. In his first try versus older horses was in the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup at Belmont, September 29th. He pressed a fast pace. He ran top class Diversify into submission. It was very impressive. He stayed on for third, 2 lengths behind Discreet Lover. And you might be like, well, he held on for third? And you think that's so impressive? It really was. That was a very fast pace that he had to deal with. A 45 3/2, a 109. Those are very fast times. And he hammered. He took Diversify setting, both those guys were setting very fast fractions, and Diversify was nowhere to be found, and Mendelssohn still was. Remember, Mendelssohn came onto the scene with that incredible UAE Derby. I mean, obviously a $3 million horse is going to be on your radar, but he won that UAE Derby by 18.5 lengths. He came over here, we were very excited, he did nothing in the Derby. Then the Dwyer was ugly. Third by 9.25 lengths to Friends Fire. Then he went into the Travers, and Catholic Boy blew past him. And then that was his best showing in the Jockey Club. 12-1, you're going to get live odds. I can understand if people want to use him underneath. I will not be using Mendelssohn at all. Now we get to the 10, Yoshida, a very dangerous horse. Jockey Jose Ortiz, trainer Bill Mont. Yoshida will be going off at 10-1 on the morning line, a high buyer of 106. Like Catholic Boy, he's a Grade 1 winner on both dirt and turf. Did not look good in the 4-star Dave, when 5th on turf at Saratoga August 11th. But that came after a big try in a Grade 1 in England and a layoff, so you could forgive him. Maybe he needed the race. Then he came back on dirt. It was his very first try on dirt in the Grade 1 Woodward at Saratoga, and he passed that test with flying colors. He was bidding his time, and then he put in a strong, sustained run to win pretty easy, and he beat 4 next out winners in that race. It's no shock he handles dirt. He's a grandson of Horse of the Year Sunday Silence. The main issue here is whether he can handle 10 furlongs, and his only 10 furlong try, it was his poorest effort. Bill Mott has won this race twice. Yoshida is a dangerous long shot, but there's so much value with every horse in this race, and Yoshida is not one of my favorites, and I won't be using Yoshida. Now we get to a horse that's just blown our minds time and time again all year long. All career long. Mind Your Biscuits. At first we thought Mind Your Biscuits was just a great starter. Sprinter. He won the Dubai Golden Chassin twice. Then he moved up. He went into the mile, and then he looked awesome there. Now, he didn't win. He came second in both the Cigar Mile and the Met Mile. And wow, Mind Your Biscuits has more to show. He's a Grade 1 winner at 6 furlongs and nose away from being a Grade 1 winner at a mile. And then he came second going 9 furlongs at Saratoga on August 5th. Mind Your Biscuits is a dangerous horse. Jockey Tyler Gaffalione, trainer Chad Summers. He won here. This was the big statement. This is the reason why a lot of people are backing him. Mind Your Biscuits won here in the Grade 3 Lucas Classic on September 29th. Now, it was marginal competition in that race, but he did so easily. It was a mile and an eighth. He ran a 48 half, 112. He was pressing the pace. He was a half length back, then a length and a half back. And then when Gaffalione pushed the gas pedal, he just went. He took off. He was ahead then by 3 lengths. He won by 4 3/4. It could have been more than that. Toast of New York was in that race, but it didn't have a lot of competition. Very impressed with Mind Your Biscuits, and I have decided to take West Coast out of the bottom of some of my exotics and put Mind Your Biscuits there. Let's move on to the 12, Axelrod at 30-1, jockey Joey Bravo, trainer Michael McCarthy, a high buyer of 104, had a big win in the Grade 3 Smarty Jones despite trouble at Parks, a fine top second to McKinzie in the Grade 1 Pennsylvania Derby. I almost wish he was in a different race. I feel like this horse is improving. He looks better each time out, but can he bang with the best horses in the world? I don't know if he can. He has the speed and versatility to give Joey Bravo options, but it's his first time versus elders. And these aren't just any old elders. It's his first time going 1.25 miles. His top buyer, 104, is a ways behind the average winning buyer of this race, which is 115. If Axelrod was in, let's say, like the dirt mile, he would have a lot of people backing him. This is just too much to ask for Axelrod. Let's move on to the 13, Discreet Lover at 20-1, jockey Manuel Franco, trainer Uria St. Louis. High buyer of 103, has earned triple-digit buyers in 2 of his last 3 races. He pulled off a shocker in that Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup at Belmont. It was a sizzling pace. It worked out perfectly for him, but he had a very nice sustained rally. He cashed at 45-1. He was put on the vets list after the race, but that's turned out to be non-issue. That was the race of his life. He got a great setup. He may not get that kind of scenario this time. Discreet Lover is an interesting horse, but I will not be backing him. And then we get to the favorite, Accelerate at 5-2, jockey Joel Rosario, trainer John Sadler, a high buyer of 115. Lost in this incredible season that Justify just had with his Triple Crown has been this unbelievable year of Accelerate as a 5-year-old. He's been the best older horse in the country, and there's no argument in that. He's won 5 of 6 races. 4 of those were Grade 1s. 3 of those were at this distance. He lost the only time he left SoCal, but he did well that day. He ran well. It was a pretty sharp second in the Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap. He was beaten narrowly by a Grade 1 type in City of Light, who's again amongst the favorites in today's Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. So we know this about Accelerate. We know he can ship and perform. Sadler has yet to win a Breeders' Cup race. He has a lot of horses. I pretty much imagine by the time we get to this race, he will have broken that curse. He's 0 for 41 coming into this. That will all change, I expect. And it could. And if it doesn't change, then Accelerate could make that change. But let's talk about this awesome again. He ran 4 wide and 3 wide throughout. It just didn't look dominant. He regressed 15 points on his buyer. He didn't want to load in the gate, which is so strange. We've never seen Accelerate, who's 5 years old. We've never seen him not want to load. Once he got in the gate, he was banging his head all over the place. It was strange. And it was red flags all over the place. This is the Breeders' Cup Classic at 1.25 miles. Horse racing does not get more exciting than this. The last few years, we've come into this race with a huge favorite, a dominant-looking favorite, but not this year. This is the race to get a big score. The exactor is going to pay out huge. The trifecta, down here in America or wherever you are, trifecta is going to pay out huge. The superfecta is going to pay out huge. If you are not betting the other races, that's fine. But bet this race when you can put a line, and I'm not putting like a dark line, but I'm putting a soft line through the favorite Accelerate. And that means whenever you can do that in a race, there are huge scores to get. Are we going to get that huge score? I will be going with McKinzie. I will have some exotics, but I'm only going to be focusing on the exactor. I think that the exactor is going to pay out big in this race, so I'm going to be focusing on McKinzie to win and exactas. And I am so pumped. Those of you who've watched all of these videos, thank you so much. It means so much to me. I believe that horse racing is alive and well, and we need viewers like you to care about this sport, to keep this sport going. There's a lot of people that believe this is a dying sport, and I am not one of them. This is my favorite sport in the whole world. It means so much to me. I grew up at the Hastings racetrack. That place, to me, is heaven, and it's home. So is Santa Anita. So is Woodbine. All these tracks. And this race going off at Churchill Downs, the Twin Spires. Thank you for supporting horse racing. Thank you for supporting Sportsbook Review. Let's get that cash, baby. Let's get that money. Breeders' Cup Classic at 1.25 miles. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.